What's going on, guys? Winner Kills here, and welcome to a brand new deck profile. Today I'm bringing you guys my updated Marincess deck profile, competitive deck profile, post legendary duelist duels from the deep. As you guys may or may not be aware, this deck got a ton of incredible support, like over the top support that it has desperately needed since the deck's release. And I've been seeing a lot of competitive success with it lately. Just last night I went 4-0 at my locals, ended up getting second because of tiebreakers, but went undefeated. I'm also currently in an online cash tournament. First place gets 100 and I think second place gets 36. I'm in the grand finals waiting for the losers bracket to finish up. I'll let you guys know how that plays out in the comments below when that finally wraps up, but I imagine it'll probably be a couple days before it does, and I wanted to get the profile out now to begin with. So yeah, check the comments for that if you're watching this at a later date. And also took this deck to a regional today and did not do super hot. I want to say it's mainly because I didn't get enough sleep, but those are just excuses. But I'll talk about some things I absolutely love about this deck, some things I feel like need still some improvement. Also, one thing I want to know is the deck list that I played last night in my locals and the deck list that I'm playing in the online tournament is different from this actual deck list here. Why is that? Because I've been going through a ton of different variants of this deck. Obviously, ever since the online tournament started about a week and a half ago, I couldn't change the online list, obviously, so I've had to play that same one. It's been working very well, and I definitely think it could be better. So I think this list here is a culmination of all those lists, and is probably like what I think currently right now is I don't want to say the absolute best, because I still don't know what's 100% correct for this deck right now, and I don't want to say that I do. But I feel like this is the best version that I've played so far. Yeah, I'll go into the matchups and everything later on for those two other tournaments, and then I might do some combos, probably in a separate video, because I don't want this video to run super long. But yeah, so let's get right into the monsters here. So first and foremost, we have 3 copies of Blue Tang. Your primary normal summon just dumps a Marincess monster when it's normal or special, and if it's sent to the graveyard for a link material of a water link monster, you get to activate the top 3 cards of your deck and take 1 Marincess card you find there. Yeah, this is like, seeing this card is just so strong. It's like 1 card full combo. This card's absolutely amazing, especially with Spring Girl now. You're able to chain block like your Blue Slug, and then Spring Girl is able to chain block your Sea Angel. This card's mandatory 3 of. Same thing with 3 copies of Spring Girl. The new level 4 extender from the new set. It says you can banish 1 Marincess monster from your graveyard, special summon this card from your hand. And then if this card is sent to the graveyard as material for the link summon of a water monster, you can send cards from the top of your deck to the graveyard, equal number of Marincess monsters you control. Then if a Marincess card or cards was sent to the graveyard by this effect, inflict 200 damage to your opponent for each Marincess monster card, or each Marincess card sent. Then you can only use each effect of it once per turn. But this card's nice, not only because it's a level 4, so you have a lot of like rank 4 plays in this deck now, more so than we did in the past, without having to play things like Shathana and Silent Angler, which conflict with a lot of your cards, like Mandarin, Sleepy Maiden, Seahorse, Spring Girl, etc., etc. Like, too many to like want to even play that card to begin with. So like, it's nice that there's a good level 4 extender that can also be a starter. Obviously we have Pascalis, but this card just being like, just like so much better. It helps you play through Nibiru too, because you can just play out of your grave instead of having to worry about keeping a board presence, which was a problem for the deck in the past. Then next up, we have 3 copies of the ever beautiful Marincess Seahorse, beautiful Starlight rares. You know, had to bust them out, right? But yeah, this card definitely is still a 3 of in my mind. Although if there's one card I thought about like maybe dropping down to 2 possibly, it would be this card specifically, because like after turn 1, I feel like this card doesn't do as much as like the other cards in your deck. The follow-up it gives you is like very, very minimal follow-up, but I'm still doing a lot of experimenting, because it says, yeah, you can summon a water monster from your hand to his own Marincess like monster points too. So like, it can summon things that aren't Marincess monsters, but odds are it's probably going to be a Marincess monster, and the effect is a little slow, admittedly, for what you're getting out of it. But this card is still insane. Like, just seeing this card as a 1 card link 4, very resource efficient. And if you see this paired with another card I'm playing later on, it's an absolutely cracked combo. So yeah, still 3 Seahorse. Like, still an absolutely incredible card for the deck. Then we have 2 copies of Pascalis. If you guys remember, like, One Deck 1 Month pre-support, when I played this deck and messed around with it, I hated this card. I never played it, just because seeing it on its own was so terrible. But now, even if you see this card, as bad as it used to be, it is 1 card full combo with Searching Dive, because it's like a Monster Reborn. But yeah, this card is really good now, much better. I wouldn't play 3 because I never want to see 2 together in the same hand. I would play 3 if you could like summon Pascalis off of Pascalis, but alas, you cannot. So I think 2 is the golden number right now. I think 1's too little for what you get out of this card, especially some plays where you can like dive, summon this out of deck, and then summon another name from hand. Really, really strong card. And the graveyard recursion, where it says banish it to add back a Marincess spell or trap, like that comes up a lot more too, to add back dives and things. And then we have 1 copy of Marincess Sleepy Maiden. I've seen some lists that don't play this card. I like this card a lot because this also lets you play through Nibiru, so long as you have like your field spell established. And this can also just make your Marincess monsters a lot stronger. It says you can target 1 Marincess card you control, special this card from your hand, and if you do, it gains this effect while this card is in the monster zone. The targeted card cannot be destroyed by your opponent's card effect. So, it comes up rarely where you'll like have an unaffected Argonaut in the EMZ, and you'll have Battle Ocean up, and you can summon this and target your Battle Ocean. So you have the unaffected Argonaut, you have this on board, and it's keeping your field spell from being able to be destroyed by things like Twin Twister, etc., or Nightmare Phoenixes. So like that does come up clutch. But I think on Dueling Book there's a mistranslation with this card. Well, it just says it just gains the effect that it can't be destroyed, period. But it's a mistranslation. I didn't realize until I actually got the physical card. It never comes up though, because like you're always linking this off, and they're always getting rid of your field spell like with like Nightmare Unicorn or Cosmic Cyclone anyway. So like that never really comes up. Like the protection effect is like cool, but you're mainly using this as a way to play without having anything on field monster wise. And its graveyard effect is really nice, as you can banish this card from your graveyard, then target a Marincess Link monster you control, equip it with a Marincess Link monster from your graveyard. So that's really nice too, because this allows you to actually equip your Marincess extract monsters that are in the main monster zone with things, giving them that 800 attack boost from Battle Ocean. Then 1 Mandarin. Yeah, still really solid 1 of. Still really good with 1-for-1 if you play it. And yeah, overall just good extender. Still play it for sure. Then moving on to the supporting water engine, we have 3 copies of Swap Frog. Yeah, I never liked this in old Marincess, mainly because like the deck, like I just feel like it didn't need it. I felt like the deck did what it needed to do, which, to be totally honest, which wasn't much, well enough, where these could have just been hand traps or things that like let you access your Marincess engine through interruptions, which was very important back in the day, because like if your normal summon got cleared, it was just like GG. So you had to play things like Monster Reborn, Scripton, like World Legacy Succession, Forbidden Dress, things like that. Like other things like help you protect your normal summon, and even like try to attempt to play through interruptions. But now that like the deck can like take a punch or two now with like all the new support it has and extenders, this fits in here a lot better. And it also pairs some of the synergy with the other cards, pairs very well with the new extra deck monster. And I am playing the dupe and the Ronin. So a bigger frog package. And we also have the synergy too now with the Spring Girl. This has the opportunity to actually mill these cards to the graveyard, which just gives you free extenders, and they can also help you link climb even if you're not making Totally Awesome, which is totally awesome. Yeah, so moving forward, we have our hand trap lineup now, because that is it for all of our water monsters, our Marincess monsters, our frog stuff. I love these ratios right now. I would not change them at all. Then we have 3 copies of Nibiru for our hand traps. I love this card in this deck solely because this deck has a big problem, and that's clearing boards. And you already play so much like negation, like things like Veiler and Wave and Droplet, you know, depending on whatever version you're playing, or Imperm, right? So you just need a way to like clear the opponent's field, and Nibiru is very good at doing that. Even if you go first, you have to Nibiru your own field. You usually have your 1-card starter back in hand to like play again next turn. And also I feel like this card is just really solid this format. The only thing it's not good against is Despia, which I feel like this deck already has a good enough Despia matchup as is. Then we play 3 copies of Ash Blossom and Joy Spring. Yeah, just most generic. You got to be able to stop Branded Fusion, or Advent of Adventure, or else you lose. And also Union Hanger, like, just hits so many good cards. Then we have 3 copies of Effect Veiler, just because, you know, spot negation. And also, I'm only playing 1 Imperm in this list because of Bubble Reef. Because you don't want to be drawing hand traps that you cannot use when you draw a Bubble Reef. You want to be drawing like starters and extenders for next turn, or you want to be drawing usable hand traps, would be Wave, Nibiru, Ash, etc. Effect Veiler. Like, you don't want to be drawing into like Imperm or whatever, or you just want to be drawing to like high impact cards. And speaking of high impact cards, we have 3 copies of Droplet. This card I was very hesitant in playing in here, just because like this deck can't really OTK unless you open like, unless like, the way I put it is like everything goes your way, you can OTK with this deck, like with like access code. If everything goes your way, 100% in your favor, like you can OTK. So like Droplet is like kind of cool there. But if we're talking about OTK, we're talking like OTK on turn 3. So it's not like a true OTK where like your opponent went first, all right, it's turn 2, you're gonna, you know, run right through their board. It's more so like this card has a lot of potential going first. You know, the synergy going second is that you can like Droplet for like 4, and then have your 1 card starter, right? You can like send your whole hand away and then just keep a Blue Tang or a Seahorse and just do your combo, right? So that's the nice thing about this. The other thing going first is you can send off your Marincess equips, things like Anemone after you use Wave to get back the Wave to your hand and also, you know, negate and have something. So Droplet I really like for that reason. At the regional, this did come up. I haven't played this in other variants of the deck, but I really do like this. Just felt very safe going into any field, having this. Also at the regional, I had a very subpar opening where I ended on just totally awesome with a Swap Frog, and I had Veiler Nib, and my opponent was like going off with Sun Avalon Therian. He started with like Lily, went to Regulus, Brave Token, Griffin, normal summon Loki, the vanilla, and then on that summon I went Droplet, sent off Toad and Swap, hit Regulus, hit Griffin Rider, he had no response. Go Toad effect to add back a swap, he chains Crow, I chain Nib, just wipes the field and passes turn. So yeah, I just Droplet's kind of nice. What can you say? Then we have 3 copies of Marincess Dive, the new spell from the new set. This card's an absolute game changer. This is like the main reason your deck doesn't like auto lose to like clearing your normal summon anymore. And anybody who still like tries to clear the normal summon, I think it's incorrect, because you're just gonna get hard punished by this card, or you're gonna get hard punished by Spring Girl. Like, it's just, and especially a Battle Ocean too. This just summons from deck. This card's insane. Yeah, so activate one of the following effects. The rest of the turn you can't summon anything but waters, etc., etc., right? All the cards say that. Target non-link monster in your graveyard, special summon it. I wish it let you reborn any Marincess monster, but it's just non-link. So I've low-key thought about making one of these monster reborn, but the fact that it's a Marincess name, so you can reveal it off of Blue Tang more often, so you can consistently search Battle Ocean, is really nice. I was playing 2 in the past, but I think 3 going forward is looking very correct, because this just helps you out so much in the grind. And then if Battle Ocean is up, you can summon the Marincess monster from your deck instead, which is really good. You know, please play around Ash, because a lot of times you don't need to summon from deck, so if you can, just please don't play into Ash with this card, because like you'll be kicking yourself, because you'll have like a perfectly good target in grave, and you'll choose to summon from deck just because like you just wanted to summon from deck to use it as like a Drytron Nova, but it's just like pointless sometimes. So just don't play into the Ash, because you can usually chain block Sea Angel and like other things, so that's when they're gonna Ash you. Then we have 2 copies of Synapse Mining. This card, I've also seen some people cut, but like Synapse Mining is good for 2 reasons. 1, for consistency, and 2, for also baiting interruptions and hand traps. If your opponent sees you go like Synapse Mining, pitch a card, like they're very, especially if it's blind, you're discarding like a hand trap, or like any like generic card, they might think you're on Adagnister, so that, or Salmon Grade, or whatever it may be, so that like throw them off to like hand trap incorrectly, or even if they just like burn interruption because they want you to go -2, it's like, that's fine. It's also a good Droplet send too, I guess. That's never come up yet, but in theory it can be. But like, I like this not only for just being like more starters in the deck, because more starters is always nice, especially if you don't draw Marincess, you lose, right? but it's also just a way to like bait Ash and other negates and things going into fields. One Cosmic Cyclone because I chose to respect Mystic Mine, and I'm lucky I did because Mystic Mine is everywhere. Yeah, like if you want to take this deck to an event, please play a Cosmic Cyclone. Just, you have to. One Battle Ocean, one 1-for-1. This is a card I was actually considering cutting. This card is a really good 1-card combo with the Mandarin. If I could just pull it out real quick. This one here. Yeah, so 1-for-1ing out this card is full unaffected combo, which is cool. Although I really felt like this is like the most cuttable card in the deck, in my personal opinion. It's just like, I feel like it could just be anything else, like a Called by the Grave, literally anything else. I don't know. Like, it's great, but like this is like the 15th starter in the deck, and the reason I'm playing 42, but 15 really gives you a very high % chance of seeing a start. I think it's like 91% or something. I could be wrong. I haven't checked the calculator like a day or two. I can't remember the exact number, but it's really high. Because like I said, if you don't draw a Marincess name, you lose. So I wanted to max out on, you know, potential Marincess names. So it is 15. And then for traps, we have 2 copies of Wave. Wouldn't play 3 just because if you play 3 copies and you lose die roll, this card literally does nothing. This is like the worst card that could possibly exist in your hand going second. Because it literally does nothing. It's searchable, so like having the chance to like slightly, you know, the slight chance to draw one is cool, like in your opening 5. But usually like we'll like search one, or like you'll draw one and then you'll search another one off of triangle. So you always want like 1 or 2 of these in rotations. I thought about playing this at 1, and I might do that because usually 1 wave is enough, especially with other hand traps. But 2 does come up. So I don't know. I still need way more testing with this deck. Like, I don't want to say like I'm like the best Marincess player out there, because that's definitely not true. I still have a lot to learn with this deck. Like everything is so different now with this deck than it used to be. So still learning, still taking baby steps. Like, yeah, I'm having some success here and there, but like I feel like there's a lot more room for potential. Okay, so this is the spice right here. Spice, by the way. So I played Marincess Bubble Ring. I decided to play this for the regional, and I want to keep testing this card going forward because in a lot of the testing I've been doing, this deck struggles immensely at like clearing boards. Or like, for example, like if you make a board and, you know, maybe you get interrupted a couple times, or like they put up a lot of pressure and they try to break your board, right? And it's kind of like a neutral game state where, like, you know, his field isn't 100%, mine's 100%, and it passes back to me, or whatever it may be. Like, just being able to like clear a field, like this deck lacks removal is what I'm trying to say. It lacks removal by a mile. Like, coming from playing Sword Soul, where you have like Boxia, Baron, Vishuda, Yazi, Chengying, you know, Sinister. Like, you have so many forms of removal, it's not even funny. Shathana, this deck has like next to none. Like, besides your Aqua Argonaut, like, being removal, like, that's like the only removal that you have. So this card, in theory, was to help fix that problem. It has 2 effects, but the Graveyard effect, the one that I was wanting to play it for, it says you can banish this card from your graveyard, and then target 1 linked 2 or higher Marincess monster you control. It can attack a number of times each battle phase this turn, up to its linked rating. Also, your opponent takes no battle damage from attacks involving it this turn. So the theory behind this was you could make a 4300 or 4600 Bubble Reef or Aqua Argonaut, whatever, banish this from the grave, target it, and then it can swing over their entire field. And if you have other bodies on field, they can attack directly and get damage in. It's also searchable too, and its on-field effect isn't bad. When a monster declares an attack, negate the attack, and if you do, special summon a Marincess Crystal Heart from your extra deck or graveyard. Don't be bad like me and accidentally equip your Crystal Heart when, like, especially in time too, because this deck does seem like it has a tendency to like grind out and, you know, almost go to time because of the removal problem, because of the lack of the OTK problem. And you might be thinking, I'll just play this to fix it, but we'll talk about that in a second when we get the extra deck. But like this card, you know, being able to just like negate an attack, bring out a bubble or a Crystal Heart, kind of cool. I did mill this off of Spring Girl a couple times. I sent it off Drop It a few times. Never searched it, but like, you know, the theory was because, you know, it helps you clear fields. And then I played one Imperm just because like I wanted to play another going second card, and Imperm is just still really good if you see it going second. So yeah, that's the main deck. It is 42 cards. We'll go into the extra deck now. We have one copy of Sea Angel and 2 copies of Blue Slug. One Sea Angel is fine. I think I played 2 in the past because Battle Ocean was like your lifeline. You needed it. But now like Sea Angel, like turn 1 is usually all you need to resolve. And if you resource or manage your resources properly, you can always put it back and make it again on the following turn. But sometimes you really don't need to make the second one, just because if you set your grave up right, you'll be like adding back your dive with Pascalis, or you'll be adding it back off Anemone or Marbled Rock. And then the double slug. The double slug always comes up just to add things back. We're adding back other link monsters. Then we played some link 2s. We played one Splash Mage, one Water Charmer, and one Marincess Crystal Heart. These are standard. You obviously need this to make your unaffected boards. Splash Mage is nice to help do like 1 card link 4 combos with very subpar hands. And I never summoned this, but because it's only good like if you have an Anemone still in your extra deck and you haven't tried to use Anemone that turn, obviously. But yeah, like I like it still. Even if like I'm not playing Transcode, I still like the idea of Splash Mage as being like a pseudo third Anemone. This card, I feel like I like this card more if I was playing Triple Tactics Talent, because you could like take anything and then link off with it, which is cool. I think if you're going to play talents, you should probably play this card, because you can't do anything with anything you take unless you're taking Halks or Sword Soul stuff, because that usually is like all it comes up against. Because there isn't like a lot of generic water things running around the format. Like you could say Enchantress, but like usually they're banishing Enchantress, or maybe they're setting up their grave off a Shooting Riser, which came up one time in my locals last night. But before I could even summon the Enchantress out of his grave, he scooped. Yeah, this card's like, I don't know. I feel like this is the worst card in the extra deck, and it probably is getting cut. It's cute that you can like link off your Nibiru token and something else into this, and then like sit on this, but like, I don't know. It just feels very lackluster. We have 2 copies of Anemone. There have been times where I wish I had a third, but I just don't think having the third one mattered. I don't think the third one was like, having the third one was like winning me games that I'd be losing otherwise, so I don't think it truly comes up. Then we have 2 link 3s. We have one Marbled Rock. Very, very important card in the extra deck for resource management, especially if you can keep like using it turn after turn. If you have like Argonaut up, they can't attack it, and if they somehow get rid of the Argonaut, they have to get through this, and you can just keep pitching Marincess monsters to negate attacks. Yeah, just good resource management card. Coral Triangle, this is probably, I want to say, the most insane card that we got. Lets you basically send a water monster from your hand to the graveyard to add a Marincess trap from your deck to your hand. So you can add your waves, your bubble rings, or circulations. Not playing circulation just because, like, I just feel like it doesn't do enough for what the deck actually needs. Like, being able to tag out into another link is cool. I did test it for a little bit. My online list was playing it at 1. I still want to, like, I've been playing this deck for like 2 weeks with the new support, and it's not enough. Like, people have probably been labbing this deck since the new support got announced. I just haven't had the time to do that because I was playing other things. So I want to be able to experiment more with all the traps. But Searching Wave, nonetheless, is like just fantastic. Chef's kiss. But the other effect says if this card's in your graveyard and only your opponent controls a monster, you can banish this card from your graveyard, special summon water link monsters from your graveyard whose combined link ratings equal exactly 3. So it's basically like a soul charge on Crackback. I always try to make it a point to summon this card turn 1, even if I don't need to search wave, just to like get it in the graveyard. So I have that really strong follow-up to bring back Anemone and Sea Angel or whatever. And then we have our 3 link 4s. We have Aqua Argonaut, Great Bubble Reef, and Wonderheart. Yeah, I opted to play the Wonderheart over the Access Code Talker. Because I feel like this card lets you helps you clear fields. You know, you can like bring up a Bubble Reef, like run over something at 4,400, bring up Bubble Reef. This is at like 28, run over something else, and then you can use the other effect like in main phase 2 to bring something back. It floats too when it dies, which is really important too sometimes. So Wonderheart is actually also another flex spot in this extra deck. I don't think this card is necessary to play. I think of the 3 Marincess Link 4s, these are definitely the best. but Wonderheart does serve a purpose that the other two do not. So that's why I like this card. And it also can just like block attacks, like, which is really nice. Yeah, so like, I don't know. This card came up one time at the regional, and had I not missequenced my attacks, I should have attacked over his 3k monster first and brought this up to attack over a 27 monster, but instead I attacked over the 27 monster, brought this up, and then couldn't attack over the 3k monster, so that was just me playing like a robot. But yeah, this is the other flex spot too, next to the Water Charmer. Bubble Reef is insane. I don't make it as much anymore because I make this, but I think I'm definitely like playing incorrectly. I feel like making this first, especially if you have like other interruptions, I feel like making this is correct. I feel like if your hand is weak and don't have a lot of outside interruptions, I think making the Argonaut is correct, because this card allows you to see 3 cards over the next like 2 turns. You draw one during your opponent's standby phase, you draw for draw, and then you draw in your standby phase again. So you get to see 3 new cards to help you try to push for game. And not to mention, with Spring Girl and things like that, banishing more cards from grave, you know, the revive effect comes up a lot more from, you know, something from banished. And also some decks just banish a lot inherently, and this they can't get over this card in the battle phase too, which is cool. And then Aqua Argonaut, probably like the second most insane piece of support we got next to Triangle. 2+ water monsters to get into, 2300 attack. As well, this card is in the extra monster zone. Your opponent's monsters cannot attack any monsters except this one. So there's an attack lock you can do. 2-card combo with just Seahorse and Swap Frog that lets you end on Aqua Argonaut, Dupe Frog plus Totally Awesome. So it creates an attack lock where they just can't attack anything because Dupe and Argonaut are out at the same time. So it's kind of cool. Definitely adds a lot more pressure to the end board. And makes it a lot harder for your opponent to navigate it. And then it says you can well, it has 2 other effects actually. It says you can target 1 water monster you control and 1 card your opponent controls, return them to the hand. So it can target itself too, which is really nice. So you can put it back in the extra deck and clear a card. So a little bit of removal that the deck, like I said, desperately needs, but it's just not enough at the end of the day. And then it says, during your opponent's turn, when a spell/trap card or effect is activated on the field, quick effect, you can special summon one of your Marincess monster cards equipped to this card, and if you do, negate the activated effect. Activated effects, so you can still negate branded fusions with this under branded loss, because it says negates activated effects, not activations of those effects. So yeah, really nice card. There's some cool things you can do where like you can even negate like your own spells and traps to like bring up like you know, your other link monsters that you need. Like if you have a marbled rock that you need to bring up to add a card back, to like be able to keep playing, like there's a cool thing you can do with that. So it's not just your opponent's spells and traps. And then last but not least, 1 Toad and 1 Bahamut Shark. I'm hoping this card doesn't get banned, because if this card loses Toad, it will lose a lot of steam. I'm hoping they just limit the card, which I think honestly makes a lot of sense in terms of Splite and like controlling that deck preemptively. I kind of wish I had a second one in here, because like I said, there are 2 flex spots. It's like Wonderheart and it's this card, which again is like the worst card in the entire extra deck right now for me. I just don't like this card. So like it could be transcode access code, right? But the problem is, like, you get locked into waters so much more now. And, like, in the past, yes, you would, like, make the Bubble Reef stop their field completely. And you'd have to, like, open really well to stop their field, not get interrupted, completely shut them down. And next turn, you could go Splash Mage, Transcode, Access Code, and go for game that way. But that's if everything works out in your favor, which, you know, if you play this game competitively, you know that doesn't happen all the time. Like, if you're being realistic with yourself and, like, expecting how things are actually going to play out at a real tournament and not just like in fairy tale land. So this just like doesn't come up anymore. Like you're going to get interrupted. You're going to have to make more plays that are locking you in water. So the access code doesn't come up. And then the extra deck, if you don't play transcode, which I see some people have done, you only have waters engraved to banish, and then you can banish the access code itself. But like that kind of defeats the purpose, because it being a 5300 beater is really strong, especially paired with like one of your 40, you know, 300, 4600, 4400 link monsters. You know, that adds a lot of pressure. I might play this again though, just because like the deck lacks removal so much in its engine that like it might just be worth playing without the transcode, just to be able to try to climb into. Because while you do lock yourself into waters more, with like more engine cards, like You also have more cards to use that don't lock you into waters, like Spring Girl, mainly just Spring Girl and Sleepy Maiden, I guess. But yeah, I don't know if that makes any sense, but like, I don't know. There's also no other good Water Link 4s. There's just not. The Water Link pool is severely limited, as you would probably be you know, able to guess, because like it's just not a well supported thing. So other cards that these cards have been Stealth Kragan. That card's kind of nice because it's non-targeting monster removal, which is cool. I thought about playing Zeus in here. I thought about playing a second Toad, especially with the Bahamut package. So sometimes you make the Bahamut for the Toad, and you see Swap Frog plays later on, and you didn't recycle the Toad with itself, because a lot of times you don't want to recycle the Toad itself. You'd rather get like names back from grave or extra deck things back to your extra deck to keep playing next turn. So like recycling Toad is like a luxury sometimes that you can't afford. So having the second copy has, like, in my mind, come up. But maybe, I don't know if it really has truly come up. Then the side deck, I played 3DD Crow just for the Despia matchup. Never resolved it once, but it is there for a reason. 3 Twin Twisters and a Harpy's Feather Duster just for back row hate. You could also argue this is some Spell and Trap hate too. It's also just great, like having this plus Droplet just pretty much outs any board in the game right now, by being able to send like a trap off with the Droplet so they can't Judgment the Droplet. But yeah, Evenly is really cracked. Going second, I sat out Bubble Ring and 1 Wave for both of these. And a lot of times that's like all you really need to side going in second against combo decks that aren't Despia, because like these just don't really come up against anything other than Despia, except maybe ABC Therion comes up. But like all the other hand traps I play just answer that matchup. Then I have 3 copies of Solemn Judgment. This card I like. Terrible in time. This deck will tend to go to time, like I said. So I don't know if this is correct. It did actually come up in time today for the Niagara Falls Regional. I played so poorly. Like I didn't break a single time. Like the deck treated me very well. I just played so incredibly poor. And I Judgmented a Eater of Millions because I played against Grenmachu of all things. And like I beat Despia, but like everything else I lost to was like Rogue or just like not like top tier meta, which is funny. But yeah, this card, like it could be Goes and Match, but right now it's just Judgment. And then 3 Anti-Spell, because like these 6 cards are just like god cards. Like they'll beat pretty much, like if you see, I did see a lot, like 2 of these a lot, which is hilarious. But yeah, I Judgmented a Red Reboot today. That's also another thing. Like Red Reboot just like destroys your whole life, because you just can't wave, and wave's a huge part of the strategy. So like having Judgment's cool. But I might go back to like trying to play D-Shifter. But if you play D-Shifter, you definitely have to play Silent Sea Nettle, which I am not playing, which is a card that I'm going to keep testing the deck without and see if I truly miss it. I do want to try playing Pot of Avarice going forward, just because like there are definitely some like spots in the deck, like cards that I do want to consider cutting. I wish Mystic Mine would get banned so I could take this out of my main deck. 100%. And what was the other card? It was 1 for 1. So it's like a tie between like these 3 cards right here. I could just cut these and play 40 and leave the Cosmic in with like 14 going second cards. Cosmic being the 14th. But I want to test these more. I know a lot of people advocate for 1 for 1. I used to advocate for a lot for this card back in the day, like when I was doing 1 deck a month, because it is really good, but you just like don't need it. A lot of your other cards can just access Mandarin, Dive, Blue Tang if you need the card. I would just rather just be like maybe just like a Raigeki or something, or like just any form of removal. Maybe both of these just become Raigeki, so you can just like play into boards more. Yeah, I guess that's pretty much it. Like I said, there will be a combo video going up separately from this. I'll probably record it right after this, honestly. So yeah, that is my Marincess deck profile. Oh yeah, I know people are gonna ask, like, what was the difference between this list I played at the regional and the list that I played at locals and went undefeated with. The only difference, literally, is just these were crossouts. And this I don't think I even played because I just opted not to respect mine at locals, but obviously at a bigger event I did. So my reason behind not playing crossout, I thought for like a long time, like all the testing I've been doing the past couple weeks, like non-stop, Like you should just see the amount of matches I played on DB against my friends with this deck. It's like absurd. I thought crossout was really needed, but there are a lot of times, like, a majority of the hand traps you get hit with, like, you just don't care about, like Imperm, Veiler, Ash. You just don't care because, like, a lot of times people are A, hand trapping you in the wrong spot, or B, it's just like you have more extenders. Like, people like Ash or Veiler, Imperm, Blue Tang, it's like, okay, cool, I have Spring Girl and Seahorse in hand, or I have Signet Mining, like, you just literally -1. Or a lot of times, and one of the reasons why I like playing Swap Frog and, you know, Signet Mining is, like, those cards just force hand traps at, like, the wrong points. Like, Swap Frog got interrupted so many times at the regional, and it was just like, okay, I just don't care. Like, my normal summons going through now. Like, people tried to stop the Swap Frog stuff so much, and it just paved the way for Marincess cards. Like, the only card you really care about hand trap wise is Nibiru, and I would say that's maybe like 40% of the time, like 30 to 40% of the time, because the rest of the time, like, your hand just beats Nibiru. So that's my reason for not playing it. I'm not completely opposed to playing the card. I think it's really strong, especially with, like, the hand traps that I am playing and, like, generic going second cards. But yeah, that's all I wanted to touch on. If you guys have any questions about the deck, feel free to leave them down in the comment section below. I try to give my best reasonings behind why I'm not playing certain cards. Yeah, hope you guys enjoyed. Leave a like if you did. And as always, Winter Kill signing out. We'll see you guys in the next one. Peace. And like always, a huge shout out goes to our Divine level channel members who are Tweeter0226, Pony Stark, Cadillacs84, Justin Lamb, and HCH Cyber. Thank you guys so much, like always, for extremely kind and generous support of the channel.